Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Estate Systems, the Viper rig, how to tie it, hopefully a more simpler and a little bit more sort of like understandable version sort of thing. So yeah, here we go then. Right, so you get your packet. Obviously, I'm going to start off to, I'm going to do this one. The last video, people really didn't sort of like, some people didn't understand it. Maybe I'm, you know, I ain't the best at explaining things or anything like that. So, they didn't sort of get a few of the issues, so I'm going to go through them. Also, going to say, right, so yeah, so this has been out like a week and a half now, yeah, like this is a week and a half after the show. Had some great feedback. The show was fantastic. Had some really sort of like nice comments and all that. Had some positive feedback, and it was really good. Had a great time there with my kids and that. Took them down there, fantastic. So yeah, anyone that bumped into me down there, happy days for either buying it or stopping and saying hello and having a chat or whatever. So that was cool. Right, yeah, so people didn't get the sort of like ideology of it, and because it's only a week and a half old now, I'm getting phone calls of people saying, oh, wicked, had a fish out on it, and I'm saying, cool man, what hooks did you use and what line was it? And I'm starting to get some really good feedback, and there's a few issues that I either overlooked or is sort of like evolving as we carry on, sort of thing, you know. So yeah, just sort of touching up on them really. One of the issues was what's stopping the hook coming off the line. Obviously people were saying, what's stopping the hook coming off the line, whatever. And the other issue was the actual spike itself and whether we could replace that, because lots of people were saying that it was a pain in the arse to re-put the bait on, or the bait weren't staying on, right? So obviously there's things out there on the market, you know, order like PVA and stuff. That could sort of like, that could sort of help you out really. But generally, right, so it's so new, yeah, I only fish sort of like 3 foot out, 4 foot out in, so I'm lowering my bait in all the time. So I technically haven't sort of like taken into consideration the guys that do want to bang it out and the rest of it. And the phone's been going, and other people have been phoning up saying, what about this, what about that? I'm going, yeah, I've tried all that, I've done all that. So I think we should get going. So this is the stuff I like to use. Again, I'm not advertising this or anything. I ain't got a deal going, but it's nice and thick, right? So it's got to be nice and thick, yeah? Right, then what's stopping the bait coming off the line, right? Obviously it's going to be a knot of some sort, yeah? Now this knot can be pretty much whatever you want it to be, right? Whatever you feel comfortable with this knot, right? Now I'm going fishing tomorrow, right? I'm going to tie up one of the rigs I tie now, I'm going to use tomorrow, right? And it's a little stock pond. I'm taking the kids down there. Biggest fish in there is 12 pound. I would be happy, more than confident in just that, yeah? Now that will stop the knot passing through the eye of the hook, right? People are saying, what's stopping the eye? Like the thing, right? So it's quite easy, yeah? You thread that through, envision the bait on there already, you know, make out there's a bait, fish comes in, pulls the hook, pulls the bait off or up to the knot. Now it's in play, yeah? Now that's sort of gonna go, you know, you'll land the fish on the knot there. That's what's stopping the hook from coming off. See that? Now it works with big hooks, little hooks, the same sort of principle, but you do need to use your noggin a little bit, right? Now, if you're using a size 4 hook over in France, I wouldn't use this knot alone, right? If you're worried about a 40 pounder in the weed, pulling it out, I would not rely on this knot. Now, I've used this knot before and I've landed 38s, 36s and a 32 and a 30, right? But that was open water fishing. Still a bit of a bolt round the net and all that, but it was open water, admittedly, right? So you need to replace that knot with something, yeah? Now it can be anything you want, yeah? I've got a little micro ring here. I've got an oval bead. I've got a ring swivel, like a tiny micro swivel. Now you can tie that onto the line to stop the hook from going over the line. Does that make sense? So you're not just relying on the knot, you're actually tying the knot onto something. Now I've chosen these bait spikes, right? And I'll tell you why now in a minute, right? But see that knot there, yeah? So that's the same knot as I'd use as on a hook if I was float fishing. That's just a 5-6 turn grinner knot, yeah? That's all that is, yeah? So the hook, although you're coming from behind it now, like the weight of it, like the tension, that knot is still doing the same job as if, you know, you're float fishing lunch and meat, and then the knot is still pulled in the same way, right? It's just the eye of that bait spike is just stopping, you know, it's just going to stop the knot from slipping. Yeah, you do need something. If you're worried about a big fish pulling the knot free, you need something. This is why I chose the bait spikes. All right, I think they're well cool, all right, because they're nice and thin. Now, if you take into consideration how thick the rings, the oval ring is, like it's well thick, yeah. Then you've got the micro swivel. Again, if you're fishing sort of like a 10mm bait pop up, I've had them split on me using them. The micro beads rings that are also in the packet, yeah. You could use that, yeah. Right, you can pretty much use whatever you want, yeah, to stop the knot from slipping, right? But the thing with these bait spikes, yeah, they're of round metal, if that makes sense. Like its entire length is like a tube, yeah, but it's not, obviously it's not hollow. It's a rod, right? And it's just twisted at the end to make the like the eye, right? So you've got a round rod, yeah, so there's no sharp edges, yeah. Now the thing with these things, I've had people say, why don't you use like an oval ring? And I've said, yeah, correct, right, and that will work, but I haven't used them because these things are pressed out of metal. Yeah, if you can imagine a really like thin sheet of metal, these things are just pressed out of it, right? Which means internally you might have like a square edge, yeah. Even these ring things, they're not round bar metal, it's like it's pressed out, yeah. And some of them are quite not sharp, but they're square, they're not rounded, right? Same as these rings, these micro rings, micro swivels. The metal is so thin, you could risk, right, lacerating the knot. Does that make, it would squeeze so tight around a square edge, especially these things here. If you, next time you get one of them, you check one of them out, right? So therefore, I would not trust a knot on that, yeah? If that was the only thing in the world, yeah, I'd have to use it, but it ain't, right? So these things here, they're nice and thin, right? Round bar metal, so you're not gonna lacerate your knot or like shred it, you know, in battle sort of thing. And yeah, they just seem to be, as soon as I see it, I thought that's a good idea. Now I weren't too sold on about how to put the bait on. Wasn't too sold on that, yeah? Didn't sort of like know. I thought, well, you're gonna have to push it in, you're gonna have to do this, you're gonna have to do that. And there was quite a few variations on how to do it. Just gonna get some bait. Right, so we've got some bait here, look. So again, right, so the end knot, yeah, you can use whatever you want, yeah? You can use a knot if you're happy with that. You can use a ring. I would just tend to stay away from these things and use a bar metal. I think they're absolutely perfect, all right? Now, so with that in mind, someone said, how do I put the bait on afterwards regarding the tail? Because what you don't want is the tail stuck out at the bottom. So if you imagine putting your bait on there, thread it in. Now again, This ain't designed to cast 80 yards, right? But look at that, right? If I push that right in, this thing sort of like sticks out a little bit, like your bead, your tail, and then the knot's there. So by the time the hook goes on, I mean, that is sort of like 5 mil there, 4 mil. Now, if you wanted to get proper tight, you couldn't. And also, this tail might hinder, it might sort of hinder the rotation of the hook, yeah? So what I like to do, I sort of say it again, right? I like to catch a fish. If I do catch a fish on this rig, right, I will get a new rig, yeah? I will not use the same rig, right? Yeah, that's just the way I've always fished, yeah? I sort of don't trust it after that. It's done its job, right? It's only a couple of quid. I can afford to get rid of it. I'll salvage what I can out of it, you know? All the beads or whatever, the rings and all the rest of it. But generally, I will get a new rig, right? So therefore, I will tie a new rig. Now, I like to put, what's that bloody needle? I like to put the bait on first, right? So I'll put my little thing on, yeah, right? Put my little spike on, thread the bait through. Pull that through. Again, I should have used a smaller bloody thing. Just have that there. There, that's sort of the effect, right? I'm not saying this is the be all and end all, right? Because I've got another way of doing it now anyway. But that's the effect. Remember the tail? The tail's completely gone, right? So now I can start applying the hook and the bead and all the rest of it to that bait. That bait would be the first thing that goes on, right? And then I'd make another rig like that. I'd have one sort of waiting. So if I did catch a fish, it's just another rig out there, you know? I wouldn't sort of like even bother with trying to rebait it up or anything like that. That's what you want, nice and neat. Right, now, so, again, the rig's only been out, so I'm getting some response, and one of the things was said about making it a bit neater, easier too, if someone didn't want to throw away their rig and you did want to reuse it. So, check this out, I've come up with a perler, right? This is not just my idea, this is how carp fishing was, you see. This is, back in the day, this is how it all sort of started. Mucking about with things, you know what I mean? Bending things. Someone said, oh, I've got a bend hook. Well, yes, mate, you have got a bend hook. Do you know what I mean? This is sort of like, that's how carp fishing evolved, the bent hook. Bent hook, the hair rig. Mate, I remember when the hair rig came out, I was about 12 years old, honestly. I thought, what the hell? And everyone said the same thing again. Too much going on, too much engineering, too this, too that. Now look at them, yeah? Do you know what I mean? So it is good. It's sort of like, personally, I think we've hit a bit of a wall, you know, regarding the thingies, the evolution of it all. So, right, see that? So before I tied the knot, I've put a little bit of mental floss through the eye of the ring, yeah? Through the ring of the bait spike, all right? So you do that first. You get your bait spike, you get a little bit of mental floss, all right? Hang on, do it for you. There, yeah? Now you hold it out like that. So you're making your eye again, yeah? Then you get your gear, your hook link, whatever you want to use. And you pass that. He says not being able to do it. Through the eye, yeah? So you put your hook link through the eye, yeah? And it just so happens, and your white stuff's through there as well, yeah? your mental floss, right? So that's that. Then you tie your knot. Yeah? So you tie your knot on the hook link, right? That leaves your tail and your spike. Now the tail. You don't want to cut it too short because I've always been a fan of a bit of a tail, just in case it does pull. So you want it about, depending on your bait size, nip that off. Right, now, one of my mates said, oh, ain't you happy about the spike? He said, whilst I'm in battle with a fish. I said, you know what? I said, I was paranoid of that as well. It was like playing on my mind sort of thing. I was rushed to get the video out because of the show and all the rest of it. I was like, man, yeah, I know, I agree. I said, I only used them because of the bar metal. I said, and they're the perfect size. So, went away, had a couple of pints, and you don't need it. You don't need it, yeah? The ring's there, the eye's there, yeah? Now, it's just a case. See that? So you've cut the spike off. Spike's irrelevant. Really, unless you wanted to use it, do you know what I mean? The small spikes with a fake bit of corn on or something like that, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But time will tell, yeah? So, all right, let's get rid of that. So, again, if I was fishing for I'm obviously fishing for a fish here, I'm fishing for a bite, so I'm not going to muck about retying, but you could do, yeah? Let me just show you that. So you could sort of like loop this mental floss stuff, loop it and pull your bait down over that, yeah? You'd still have to deal with your tongue thing, but for added security, right? Again, I always start off with my bait, right? Pull that through. Right, so now check this out. Let me get a bit of a grip on this. Right, so I'm going to pull this through just till I get rid of that tail. See that? Alright, so we've got the hook link, we've got a clear bait, and now we've got two tails up here. Happy days. So I can now tie whatever knot you want to use here. To be fair, I don't really know a lot about knots, to be honest. I know a few and that's what I use, but this is what I would use. So at some point here, get that, or a bait stop or anything you want. Bit of reed, look at me. Yeah, so tie that on there like that. Snip that bad boy. Snip these bad boys. Maybe do a better knot, you know what I mean, or blob that or burn it or whatever you want to do. But check that out. Yeah. So completely no tail. You've got the eye, the hook, the eye, the ring in there. You've got no spike no more, so you've got no danger of hooking the fish or arming the fish at all, other than the actual hook itself. The bait's on there. Again, do a better knot if you want. But now you can start to build up your hooks. Yeah? Your hooks, your rig. You can just start to build up your rig from there. That's pucker. So get rid of all this crap. Or found some nice hooks. Oh, so the hooks, yeah, so the hooks, right? Mate said, we've got a bend hook. Yeah, well, yeah, right, you have got a bend hook. I've had a lot snap, right? It's trial and error. What have we got here? Crank choddies. Now, again, I've had some feedback, right? I was speaking to mate the other day, and I said, oh, he nicked one. And I said, oh, what hooks were they? And he listed some off. And I said, oh, I'm trying them tonight. And they all snapped, every single one of them. Right, see that? So that's in there, right? Yeah. This is the prank choddy. Right, so now it's just a case of, a bit tricky in front of the camera. Oh, it's worked. There you go. Crank choddy, done. Yeah, you can sort of see. Look, that's just come out another sort of 20 degrees maybe. In fact, I could probably do that again. Snap it now, you watch. Yeah, see that snapped. Crank choddy, snapped. Again, I've got a truckload of hooks up here. I could keep going and keep going. So we've got the Corda Choddy B. Now this is the one, weirdly, the one I've been using. So look at that there, yeah. So I'm just gonna bend that up. There. Done. Yeah, what was that, 10 seconds? 10 seconds. So that's my hook bent. And that was the Choddy B. And not one of these has snapped. Right, let's just try this one quickly. This is the covert chod hook. Again, right, I ain't sort of like, I ain't trying to sell these or anything like that. I'm not being paid to say whatever I'm saying. So just get the end of the eye. On the point. There, no brainer, done. Maybe a bit more, go a bit more on that. Come a little bit away from the shank and you'll get a better, a straighter point, a straighter bend. Yeah, sweet, see that? So that was the Chod Covert Gardener. Again, it all depends what steel the hook's made of. It's not really, you know, there's nothing I can really say or do about that. Apart from, let's get back on the track here. So I did find these hooks in my tackle box the other day. They didn't have a packet with them. There was no packet, so I don't know what they are, but they bent up lovely. Again, they're smaller fish tomorrow, where we're going. So I'm gonna use these. So we've got our hook bait on. That'll slide down there. Lovely, yeah? Yeah, so yeah, you know, I was there when the area come out and all the rest of it and evolution and stuff like that. And I think this rig's sort of like, it's got the potential to do the same, if I'm going to be honest. Maybe it won't work, do you know what I mean? But I think the way it goes on, people are going to keep coming up with things. I've had loads of hook link messages, do this one, do this one, do that one. Right, so the ring goes on next. So that's the metal ring on. Again, you need the metal ring in between the hook and the rubber bead to help create or stop the friction. All right, then you put your bead on. I've made this a little bit easier. Look, I've made it into a little bit of a triangle thing. Grab your line, whack it on there, pull it up. Right, use a bit of moisture here, so I'm going to take this out of shot. And then simply, again, I like the pliers. I don't trust these spiky things that's going into that yellow thing. If you pulled that really hard, I reckon the metal would just come off. In fact, it does come off, I've tried it. So I like to use a pair of pliers in between and just pull it over. You have to tease it over, bit tricky. There, done. Just tidy up that bead's got a bit of a thing on it. Alright, so the hook's on, so the bead's on. Slide the bead down. again, you can adjust it, right? So if you want to do 2 baits, you can have 2 baits on there now. You can have one bit of sweet corn. You can sort of like move that bead up and down to suit the length of your bait, or how far you want to be away from the bait. Like if you wanted it sort of like right down here, that's fine. I mean, you could still fish that like that. It would still rotate. But I like a nice big bait, and I like it nice and tight up there. There you go. All right. So now you're set, yeah? So now it's a case of stripping back. Oh, here, I have got something here for you. Right, I'm going to take this out of view because I'm going to have to strip this back here a little bit, yeah? And I sort of like using my teeth to do it, right? So I'll be back in a minute. You can get scissors for this and special tools. There's like a metal square thing. I'd advise getting that. Right, there you go. Right, so strip back, yeah? So I'm keeping the axis in between the inside the bait and to the end of the bead as stiff as I can, right? I'm leaving all the coating on there. That's gonna rotate around that, yeah? So you want that nice and sort of like stiff if you can, yeah? Now at the bottom here, that's ready to go, look. That's working right there, yeah? Right. Putty. Do like using a lot of putty. Said before my reasons why. I just sort of think it helps with the presentation. Not so much the presentation, but when the fish picks up the bait, make it a little bit harder for it to get it, you know. Wafters are all right and all the rest of it, but personally is all right. I like using quite a bit of putty. This stuff here is crap. I've been using this. It ain't that heavy, to be fair. You have to use like quite a bit of it. So whack that on there, wherever you want that to turn. Now, there you go, right? So that's pretty much it. That will now work. Now just to give it a little bit, so it's a bit high, see that? It's touching on the bait. See that? Right, so just put it down a touch. There, see that? There you go. All right, so you got that bit now, right? Now, so, but when the fish picks up that, you want to twist this stuff. Get that separated. Like the old sugar cane, you've got to separate the sugars out. You've got to separate the fibres, if you can, all right? Now, what I like to do is just get a tiny little bit of putty. Honestly, just that much, look, right? And I'm just going to wrap it below this bead, right? If I can. Don't want it above the bead because it will stop the hook from moving. There. Just pinch that in. Now again, this could be lowered out. This is how I'm going to fish this, so I'm not too worried about the dynamics of it all coming off. So I've got a big bit of putty there. I've got a little bit of putty under the rubber ring. Then I've got my micro ring. Then I've got the eye of the hook. Then I've got the bead, right? Now that little bit of putty underneath that thingy just helps keep that hook point the first thing to spin. Like the little bit of putty is like stopping it's like pulling the eye downwards a little bit, making that vertical sort of axis, whatever it's called. See that? So it's a nice bottom bait. Look, it's always going to be ready. It's always going to be waiting. It's never going. The hook's never going to be upside down. and it's just going to turn whatever way that's picked up. So yeah, there you go, right, you know, so happy days. Really know what else to say. I'm sure people are going to mug this off as well, like, oh, a load of crap, but I'm only putting it out there. I'm not forcing this on anyone or anything like that. I'm just saying, if you want a bottom bait rig that's going to rotate every time. I'm getting texts, bottom lip, mate. Well done, thanks. You know, the proof is going to be in the pudding. And we're sort of like solving issues as we go here. I like it. All right, so hopefully you now know what's stopping the hook from coming off the line. We've eradicated the spike from the ring. You know why the ring's important, the bar metal and not the pressed metal. You can use pressed metal if you want, but I wouldn't risk it. I would sort of stick with what you got. I like it. So there you go. That is the bottom bait. So I'm going to fish this tomorrow. I actually will. All right, over and out. Hope you like that. Much obliged. Peace.